One. Hello and welcome to another episode of Hydra's Den. I'm your host Hydra, and today I am joined by a reoccurring guest of Owlbear.
Hello, everyone.
Right, so he's fixed his connection issues, hopefully. So maybe we'll have a bit better time than last time. So to start, we are going to be going through something that I've been requested of quite a few times now, which is make a one-shot on stream. People really want that, so here I am, ready to provide. And to that effect, we're just going to kind of go through it step by step. And I'm just going to kind of preface and go through just some stuff to keep in mind when you're going to make your own one-shot. So the best place to start, is getting your ideas. So for me, I believe that an idea for a good one-shot can come from anywhere. You can be in the middle of a conversation with someone, you can be on a bus, you can be in a movie theater, wherever. So you can be, half asleep when you get this crazy good idea. So to that effect, I make tons of notes on my phone. I have notes that I put on a bedside table. In general, you should be just make notes about your ideas. Just keep them with you somehow, somewhere, at all times. This is just because the best ideas will come to you somewhere where you are not prepared for it normally, and you will 100% regret it if you do not take note of them. You have an experience with that type of thing, Owlbear?
Yeah, all the time. When I used to do a lot of long driving over the summer months, I would be listening to music or having a conversation with someone, and an idea would just pop into my head, and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to write that down as soon as we're done driving. To my dismay, when I arrive at the destination, I've forgotten half of the idea.
Yeah.
So to mitigate that, I have a sticky note little dispenser in my car that when I get to a red light, I can just jot it down quickly so I don't have to use my phone, and just slap it on the dash, and it's ready for whenever I'm done.
Yeah, fantastic idea. Some people might use a voice recorder. Some people might do, there's all sorts of things you can do. That's going to be your stage one for gathering ideas. And stage two is probably going to be to look for different places to get arts and ideas. These can be anything from, I've seen sites where they have, a bunch of writing prompts. It's just like, just a site dedicated to writing prompts. They'll have lists and lists and lists of them. Some of them are fantastic, some of them are awful, but they get you thinking either way. Other places to look, you want to look at websites like, for art, you want to look at Pinterest, you want to look at DeviantArt. I know DeviantArt, but there's actually a lot of really fantastic artists on there too. They do all sorts of backgrounds and creatures and all sorts of fun stuff. That's what I use. How about you?
I'm quite a fan of Pinterest because it's a mobile app and it's easy to boot up. And then once you start building a portfolio of things you like using, it'll recommend you similar things, and it's just pretty handy, and you can accumulate quite a bit of information in a pretty short amount of time. But I'm also pretty active on some of the Facebook roleplay groups that are around, especially for Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and like the world building stuff. And people are always shooting ideas in there and asking for feedback, and your feedback to someone else's idea could create a whole new idea that you could spin off of.
Yeah, totally. That's why I put together the Discord for. To be honest, is that exact sort of stuff. Along with helping out. And I don't personally get into the Facebook stuff that much, but having other people around to bounce ideas off of is just, fantastic in general, because a lot of things will just come together a bit better if you have someone else to help bounce it off of, polish your idea. I also going to note that I went through and listened to my stream last time. I was a bit nasally. I'll probably be a bit nasally today. I have some sinus problems. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do about that. That's just the way it goes. So sorry in advance about that. So from there, let's just get into it. If I can just get a thing of my I made the terrible mistake of not getting a window capture. No, that's a video capture. A window capture for my notepad. Sure, let's make a new one. Sorry about this. Here we go. Untitled. Bada bing, bada boom. This absolutely terrible thing is just... I'm just going to cover this up for now, because we don't quite need it yet, and we can have some lovely art still scrolling through. But when I'm going through, let's just say I've kind of got something going. There's a few questions I'm going to start asking. Or even if I don't have any ideas and I've decided, you know, I'm going to be doing a one-shot today, and that's sometimes happens. Sometimes I'll say, you know, we're doing a one-shot today. I'll get some people together because, you know, it's just fun to do. So I think, you know, what am I going to do here? How am I going to do this? For the sake of brevity, we are going to be using the system GOPD system I put together. If you want to know a bit more about it, there's a few more videos on the channel. Go back through, take a look. It just for the sake of, just in case you don't want to though, it's a quick sort of easy to put together, easy to play system. Not a whole lot of backlog work, not a whole lot of character sheet building or rolling numbers. So as close as we're going to get to just pure roleplay. So we're going into it, and there is the most basic ones. If you've ever taken a story writing course or any sort of story thing in your sorry for putting that terrible white box there. It's, you know what, it's just there. I'm sorry. But the top questions you ask are who, what, where, when, why, and how. These are the classic ones. I'm going to be doing them in a bit of a different order, which would be that, I mean, this is personally to me, which is I like to go with what's the monster slash antagonist slash whatever, what's the bad guy, and where are we. Those are the ones I like to talk about first because those are the fun ones, you know. It's just nice to get into that. So before this stream, Owlbear and I were talking a bit about it. We went through a few of the ideas and stuff I put together. We've got a few ideas. I can keep reading off of stuff here that I've been putting together, but we're thinking that the only prep, just so you know, as I said, I'm putting this together basically from scratch. The only prep we've done is to go through behind the scenes a few of my ideas, because I wrote down an awful lot of crap. And I think we agreed on some kind of facility type setting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now that Resident Evil 2 has been remade and the underground facility doesn't seem to be used too frequently for one shots, so it'd be a nice little change of pace.
Heck yeah, underground facility. So since we're going through an underground facility, there's a bunch of different kinds of one shots. What we're doing is what I'm going to call the amusement park ride, which is where you're going to take your players and you're going to take them through a series of steps. It's like kind of like a haunted house. You're going to be telling a story, of course, of some sort. And so because you have, like, in this case, an underground facility, you have a very, very streamlined process. The players are going to have their briefing at the beginning. You're going to have your mission brief. You're going to have whatever. You're going to have some spooky stuff. You're going to have some bit more sort of like the culmination of spooks, I'm going to call this. Culmination of spooks. And then, I misspelled, whatever, spooks. And then we're going to have monster stuff. And then we're going to move on from there. So that's generally how this sort of amusement park ride idea works, is that, and I guess it's a little cheesy, but, you know, when I'm building it, this is a very often just, it's important to know what kind of mission you're making, what kind of adventure you're making. And I feel like we're calling back to old classic horror movies, classic horror games. We mentioned Resident Evil. So, yeah, we've got an underground facility. You got any ideas to throw in here? Let's throw some stuff together. Let's brainstorm.
Well, I think it's important to pick first. You have your location, you have theme you're going with, which is going to be spooky underground. Mm-hmm. But then you want to probably decide on what kind of mission or objectives you want to have the players try to perform. Whether it's you're extracting some kind of information, some kind of person, some kind of... could be anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Why are we here?
yeah, why are we here?
Why are we here?
A
So,
good place to start.
okay, so if we're doing with a monster, and to be honest, I want to do monsters. I want to do either one or many. I feel Eldritch tonight, so let's do some Eldritch. And by Eldritch, I mean it's kind of like a human, but it's got a lot more tentacles and goopy stuff, and is probably spooky
Mildly
as hell.
Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I'm just something that sort of throws off conventional form. Just because those ones are always spooky. We might throw in some skeletons. Actually, I'm also kind of feeling like skeletons. I like skeletons. So why are we here? Well, let's decide, because a key point of why we're here. This is why I started actually with the monster, is because what sort of monster is this? Is this a virus? That's going to be a different reason than if it's an alien, or if it's a supernatural boy. I chose the type of monster. What do you think he's going to be? What's his?
I think this could definitely be a case of having to the facility that they're entering could be some kind of research facility,
Okay.
and they managed to open and sustain a portal to some other dimension, very Doom-esque,
Okay,
like a portal
I
to hell,
like it.
and it influenced the scientists, and they started to change and warp and all kinds of nasty things happening to them.
Okay, so these are going to be humans. So these are
Yeah.
ex-humans. Okay, that's actually a very important one. I feel like that while we're going with that, we should have, if it's some sort of portal to beyond, which is what I wrote it down as, we should
Yeah.
have at least one or two what I'm going to call boss boys, which are going to be things natives to whatever that dimension is.
Yeah.
That's cool with you?
Exceptional predators of that realm.
Yeah, sure. So we have a portal to the beyond, and that actually answers our question. Why are we here? We are here to close the portal. Or we might be here to destroy the facility, actually. Or destroy facility. In fact, we might have a situation where we have multiple ways to win.
Yep.
Where it would be I'll often jokingly at the end of my missions I'll talk about bonuses. You get bonus points for doing it this way, the good way, right? The good end. The close the portal could be the bonus end, or the good/the good end, because you're preserving the facility. Whereas destroy the facility is if you can't fix it, so we break it. So in that case, going a little bit back onto these boss boys and monsters, we've got mutants. So the mutants are going to be ex-humans that were changed by the portal. By what? Is it the portal itself, or is it
Whatever came through the portal?
Okay, so whatever comes through the portal has the ability to change people.
Yeah, which
Excellent.
could lead to being one of the big boss boys.
Due to monster from portal. Okay, so that actually gives us a lot of information already. So we're gonna tell us a lot of about the facility we're in. It's gonna tell us a lot about everything. But as I said, I'd like to go through the monsters first. From here, I would recommend making sure you get some. You don't need pictures yet, but get a little bit of an idea of just a few sort of scenarios in your mind. That's what I do, at least. I kind of think of some action scenes. I'm already sort of getting vibes of, if you've seen that Doom movie, that really bad one with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I quite enjoyed that movie.
No, I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed it too, but
it was bad in a good way.
It was bad in a good way. So with that in mind, I'm getting that kind of vibes of a bunch of space marines in a hallway, gunning down as the horde comes towards them. We thinking horde?
Is horde as scary as single? Because with horde, it's kind of you have to dodge them.
That's. Oh, you cut out really hard there.
I think it's an important distinction you want to make when it comes to the kind of scare. Is if it's a horde kind of scary, the players have to avoid it. But if we want it to be more of a spooky tone, if it's a single entity, it has to dodge the players until it's ready. which could lead to kind of silent tension building in the background.
You know, that's actually a good point and I'm going to add to that, which is that if it's just a big horde, that's action horror. That's
Yeah,
balls to the wall, machine guns blazing. That's also going to determine what type of gear we're giving them, of course.
yeah, it's the
Um,
difference between like a zombie game style horror where there's just mass zombies, and you can like Dying Light, I guess, would be a good example of it. There's like hordes and hordes of endless zombies, as opposed to something like Amnesia or Slenderman, where it's a short handful of entities that are just terrorizing the ever living daylights out of you.
you know what? Actually, do you want to do stronger, like much less of them, but they're really tough?
Yeah,
Okay, so with our ex-humans are going to be tough as nails. So we're talking about things probably that don't have conventional vitals,
no,
because they're so mutated, or
very
animated by
xenomorph esque.
yeah, or
There's not a lot
animated
of
by the
them at
dark
first.
forces.
Yeah.
Yeah. It at this point it doesn't matter whether it's magic or whatever. I'm just going through. This is really why I go through the monster first, because this stuff is going to color everything else, like very strongly. So, all the monsters. I generally don't want to turn out a whole bunch of different monsters right now, and I feel like we could have maybe 3 general mook types tops, for a mission like this, because this is going to be a one shot without a doubt. I can already tell that. What are you thinking? 3 or more?
That's a good round number.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do general mooks. I probably have some pictures I could use.
And the general mooks should probably be the actual mutated
Yeah.
humans themselves, and not quite the beings from the portal.
Yeah.
Those will
Exactly.
probably be like the biggest one, or like the middle tier one. So you
Yeah.
always have your commander, and you always have your sergeants.
Exactly. So we're gonna have the mooks, which are just the mutant humans. They're gonna be tough as nails. Maybe you know what? I'm getting the feeling like maybe the players can bring their own gear, but actually this is gonna set a bit of coloring to this, which is that you know what? I'll just put this at the bottom, which is limited ammo scenario. Maybe there is a bonus weapon because it's a research facility.
Yep,
Super weapons are always fun.
some kind of BFG.
Exactly, something that just it works very well against whatever that enemy is. But we don't need that. We don't need to look into that just yet. But the general mooks going to be really hard to deal with. It's probably going to be better for the players to try to get around them. And because these guys are so tough, we are going to make them dumb or slow at the very least. They don't have to be dumb. I personally like to give them some sort of disability, some sort of limiter, whether it's that they're blind so that the players can mess with them, or whether it's that they are, just dumb as a sack of potatoes, or maybe if they can't see them, they can't go for them. What do you think?
I'd probably go with losing a lot of their like intelligence as human beings, and reverting more to like a feral, like reptilian brain, instinctual predator.
Okay, so we're going dumb reptile brain.
Yeah, with
I don't,
tentacle.
I don't know if I want them to be fast though. I still kind of want them to be slow, or at least sluggish. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe just clumsy. Because if something is both tough and fast, that will
it
make
doesn't have to be smart.
well, I mean, but it also makes your players poop themselves very, very fast.
I mean, that is also partially the goal.
It's the goal, but sometimes they're pooping themselves in the wrong way. Because so what I mean is this: when you're giving the players sort of the idea of what kind of mission it's going to be, you need at least one encounter that really primes them for it, right? If there's, let's just say, I don't know, 10 of these mooks humans on the base, which honestly I wouldn't do more than that. I'll just put that down here. Then you need to have an encounter maybe at like the lift down, like right as they come in, or like very early on. Something that can give them a good scare, but doesn't actually threaten them in any way. It'd have to be something that, if it's alone, one of them, and you're teaching them that these things are not to be shot, then what you do is you put a lone one of them down a long hallway, and you give them a chance to engage and talk to it, and then it starts coming at them, and then they fill it with lead, and then it keeps coming, and then they fill it with even more lead, and eventually it drops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of primer scene conditions the players that, okay, this is not to be dealt with that way. So that's actually, I'm going to put like, I'm going to call these key scenes. Key scenes are typically things that you're going to want to spend a lot of time on. So,
which is by the first contact.
Yeah.
So that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, so first contact is going to be one of these. Contact, and this is basically here to prime players that mooks are not for fighting. This basically tells the players that their weapons are mostly going to be there to slow down the mooks. If they really have to, they can get creative and destroy the mooks, but that's not their main goal. That's not their main way to deal with this. And because they're clumsy, let's give them a let's put it in a cluttered hallway. One mook cluttered hallway, because then he can, get about halfway to them, then trip. Because remember, the first one is supposed to be no threat condition. And I say no threat. In truth, if the players decide to run up and start whacking it with a knife, they will be wrecked. But dumb players must be punished. That's the state of things, unfortunately. But if
I wouldn't say unfortunately. I think that's just a necessity at this point.
Yeah, no,
because some people try to stylify or make things silly because they're just trying to get attention for themselves and kind of taking it away from the setting.
Exactly.
And I don't believe that should be tolerated.
I believe it should be tolerated but punished. It much in the same way you can have in the horror movie that guy who goes up and he goes over to the dead zombie. The zombie thinks he's dead. And he holds it up. He's like, "Yeah, look at this. I'm so tough." And then the zombie turns around and bites him.
Then you get to kill your fellow player.
Exactly. So now let's look at our boss boys. I'm going to say no more than one or two. What do you think? Either one, and he's a lieutenant. He's just kind of like a Mr. X from Resident Evil, or the Black Knight of sorts that stalks around and chases them every once in a while, puts a little pressure on them, or two of them, and they're mini bosses. Which do you think?
I'd probably say the first one. Have him just kind of stalking the players, because then it leaves a bit more ambient pressure on the players to not lollygag and try to achieve their objective.
Yeah. So
without straight up ruining it by having him engage.
Of course. So he's going to probably also be slow. He's going to be even tougher. He is just going to be an absolute nuisance. He needs to have a weakness. I'm thinking, we're talking about research facility. Weakness can be cold. That's what I'm thinking. So basically, one of the early times, either at the beginning, the first time you fight him, or around the beginning when he's encountered, in the same general area has to be some sort of area with cold study or something like that. So they have lots of tanks of liquid nitrogen. The idea being to give them a way to stop him, at least temporarily.
Yeah, or just making he's basically immune to conventional weapons. So that's going to be your guns, knives, swords, light explosives. He's going to shrug those off like face full of water.
Yeah. So we're going with cold weak.
We can go with cold, or if it's just any kind of elemental.
I like cold.
We'll give players the chance to experiment.
Yeah, I like cold though, just because it stuns him in the temporary, but it also gives him an opportunity to come back in a bit later.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about maybe lure into some sort of quick freeze room or something. I'm thinking Dead Space 1, you have that thing with the regenerator comes after you. You lure it into this quick freeze thing.
Yep.
And it freezes it, but then later it comes back. So what I was thinking is, it's quick freeze now, but maybe later there's a power outage or something when they're leaving, if they shut down the portal, maybe it shuts down the power, and so
Yep.
that boy defrosts.
Or even, see, when we come to this kind of point where we're fleshing out the monsters and the enemies, a question that'll probably pop up that the players are going to say is going to be along the lines of, why didn't they just leave the facility? And when you're designing the weakness, you can keep that in mind. So at the base, the research facility could be underwater, so they couldn't leave because they drown, or it's in like extreme high or frozen climates, where like you're at the top of a mountain, or the Arctic, where it's just cold and they can't leave because that's their weakness. But it's not flat out said that it's their weakness.
Yeah.
But that could help players kind of read between the lines as to why they didn't leave the facility.
I've already used Arctic once, and I feel like I'm going to get upset with myself if I use another thing.
I mean, you could do the bottom of the ocean.
I had a hilarious idea, actually.
All right,
Moonbase.
lay it on me. Is it on the moon?
Moonbase, yes.
Nice.
Moonbase?
Yeah, moonbase. That sounds good.
Okay, Moonbase. Okay.
We have a portal to the Eldritch Realm. I don't think there's a big problem with it being on the moon.
Yep. So we are going to have astronaut boys, which
Real space marines.
Which means that you can blow up facilities far more eagerly. That means we can go into all sorts of other crazy stuff from there. We can put together all sorts of whatever BS rocket ships or whatever. The moon base is still a maybe, only because I was just thinking about how people get there and get back. How do you explain that in the current tech setting? But,
Yep.
I mean, we have all sorts of dumb things we can use as excuses. We can say portals, we can say whatever. But
just to interject.
yeah.
Question in chat. Quick rundown of the one shot so far. So up to this point, I think it's safe to say that the location is going to be on the moon. It's going to be scary, in a sense of small group of combatants that stalk the players, as opposed to the traditional horde sense. And the objective of closing down a portal to an Eldritch Realm.
Unless he's referring to previous one-shots, like other ones I've done. In which case that would be an Antarctic incident, a thing where it's feel a very sort of thing vibe thing where it's cold Arctic, blizzard coming in, and the aliens are coming for you. And they're kind of xenomorph-esque, very crawly, cockroachy things with big teeth and all sorts of nasty stuff. We've had I've done one before that was an underwater base with big sort of sea gods going around, and that was a fun one. It was all about capturing it or dealing with it in some way. We had a marshlands mystery where they were investigating a issue out in the southern United States where you had pollution stuff giving rise to the old creatures from wherever.
Pissed off Godzilla.
Exactly. I've had one where it was out in Vermont, and it was an old ski lodge that's like filled with ghosts and all sorts of nasty stuff. Had one out in Romania where it was dealing with like vampires and aliens and stuff. It was pretty goofy. I had one out in Myanmar, which was dealing with somewhat similar to this Eldritch God type things, but a little bit more of a hive mind, controlling a bunch of goons type thing with some psychic powers. That was fun. We've had one in Brazil post World War II with cyborg Nazis and other Franken chimpanzees and stuff like that. That one was a lot of fun. And that's generally where we're at in terms of one-shots I've run. But like as I said, you can move all over the place. I remember one of my friends who ran one of these did a sort of far future exploring a mining vessel and very eldritch magic alien things coming up, and that sounded like quite a party. So yeah,
hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, hopefully one of us did. So you know what? Let's do this. Let's do Weak to Freeze, and let's do Moon Base, because you know what? I'm feeling crazy. So our final boss, I'm gonna put him at the portal. I'm just gonna put him as some sort of portal guard. I'm thinking either something coming through the portal, and the whole fight is to disable the portal while also dealing with it, or just something that you have to sort of like lure around and sort of somehow get out of the way. What do you think?
That could be fun.
Which one or two?
Probably the Portal Guardian, but I'm not sure. A bit more specific. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm still.
The first one is something more like, I mean, the idea I have is big tentacle thing coming through the portal, like something that can't fit all the way through, but is just kind of like stuck at the portal, but just threatens everything around the portal. So you have to like distract it, and like one group has to deal with it while the other group has to go and disable the whatever is required to disable it, which may be like on the other side of the portal or whatever, you know?
Ooh, will the players have to go to the other side of the portal?
Well,
I feel like that's something that should be discussed.
well, no, not to the other side of like the dimension, but I mean like the other side of the portal room.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I was
no,
gonna say if they have to if they have to begin the like if they have to be turned off on both sides, that could be interesting.
that could be interesting.
If it's like a technologically sustained portal, kind of like Stargate, as opposed to like a tear in the fabric of reality.
Well, that's interesting, but my only issue with that is that we've already established that they mutate humans.
They could be in some kind of protective suits to go in, as opposed to the scientists, which are probably in just their lab coats and civvies.
True. I don't know. I'm still feeling the don't go through the portal only because I like to give an ominous vibe of what's on the other side of the portal. You know.
Fair enough. The fear of the unknown.
Exactly. So we are not going through the portal.
Okay. Stay tuned for the next run shot where they go through the portal.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that you said if you don't say anything about what's on the other side right now, then anything can be on the other side. You know, maybe we come back there later.
Yep.
So Portal Guardian, you fine with tentacles?
I mean, it wouldn't be really eldritch if it wasn't covered in nightmares and tentacles.
Sure. Unspeakable tentacle horror. We might. I'm thinking. I'm getting the feeling I kind of want to flavor it maybe later with some poking out bones and missing flesh and stuff.
Yeah, it could be something more Lovecraftian, Call of Cthulhu-esque, like a star vampire would probably be appropriate for this.
Ooh. I'm calling it necroflesh, just as a terminology for
As a placeholder.
yeah, for when you see like the necromancers, like the generic necromancer zombies are always the zombies where it's like they're half fleshy and the bones are coming out and or the flesh golems and that type of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've got the monsters basically. So now we can really go into detail on where we are. We are on the moon base. We're on it's an underground moon base, so it's built into the facility, which is going to be important here because I'm getting a message on the Discord. That is a nice one, actually.
I feel like that'd be very appropriate.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Pathfinder.
Owlbear has sent me a lovely picture of a just horrifying looking squiddy boy. Let's see if I can actually pull that up. Let's see. That would be window. No, not video capture. Why does it always go for the video capture? We got a window capture and we got notes. Would it be null?
Maybe you have null? More information than I do on it.
Oh, I just working with this is always a nuisance.
Try saving it and then dragging it onto the stream field.
Nah. I am just... You know what? Yeah, I will. I'll just save it and just put it on. Okay, let's just save it on desktop. Bada bing, bada boom. And we will just grab it that way. Infinitely easier. Anyways, let's get this out of the way. Here we are. Grab this. And now we'll just grab it that way. Window capture. Bada bing, bada boom. What would that be? Would it be just this?
I see darkness.
I do see darkness too.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh, don't be that way, please, please, baby. Baby, come back. I don't know why it's being a nuisance. We might have to just go with the take my word for it. It's very lovely. Because...
I mean, if you go to Google and just look up Star Vampire Lovecraft, You'll probably find the same image that Pathfinder has for the Star Vampire in their canon.
Okay.
Basically, just imagine a giant squid where the end of each tentacle is another mouth.
Fantastic. So yeah, we have that as our final. We'll honestly go a bit more into the boss's mechanics and details later.
That's more fine tuning as opposed to the overall preparation of a one shot.
Exactly. So we are on a moon base underground facility. That's going to be important because if they blow it up, we don't want a big crater on the moon. It's going to just be detonate, collapse the facility.
Or the facility could be so large that if they were to self destruct it, they would destroy the moon itself, which could cause unbridled consequences for the planet Earth.
Tempting, but I did want to have destroying the facility as one of the endings.
Well, it could be an ending, but in this one-shot universe, we don't really care about preceding issues. So if they do blow up the moon, it's kind of because having a one-shot, you have the luxury of not having to worry about collateral damage. So if they decide the only way to stop it is to blow up the moon itself, then that's completely within the possibilities to do. Sure. But obviously, bonus points for not ending life on Earth as we know it.
Sure, you know what? It is...
that's for the players to decide on where the player morality stands.
Yeah, vulnerable moon, sure. I mean, player morality usually will stand somewhere in the realm of don't blow up the moon. But
if they're taking it a bit more seriously, but there's always going to be that one guy who wants to cause as much grief as possible.
There always will be. So let's go from there. With that in mind, things that we are also going to need. There's going to be a few facilities that we've kind of talked about. We're going to need to go more into detail with. We're going to need a cryo/study area. This is going to be where I'm going to call him the Wanderer is going to sort of start out or be near. So he's going to be a thing. I kind of want to do a cafeteria. I want to do, what do you think? Engineering, some sort of engineering, like docking bay type thing. Throw out ideas if you have any. I'm just kind of spitballing here. For places you would have on a moon base. Generator, like power zone. You still there? Oh, I'm getting messages. Oh, can't hear. He cannot hear me. He cannot hear me. He cannot hear anything on Discord. I'm gonna say he might wanna relog or reconnect. Okay, he can hear me on the stream though. You still might want to, Owlbear, this is just for the record, Owlbear is kind of chopped out. Owlbear, you might want to jump out and then jump back in. See if that works, because if you're having Discord problems, well, that's how it goes. Oh, he's trying. He's trying, ladies and gentlemen. Till he gets here, I'm going to keep going on my end. Oh, it might actually be my fault, actually. Hold on. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Okay, so it was one of us having Discord problems. We don't know which. So you were up to date what I was talking about?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're going for facilities. Yeah. So you have cryo study area, cafeteria, engineering, living quarters.
Living quarters, yes.
It's always important to try to make, whether it's a dungeon or a moon base full of eldritch nightmares, make it feel lived in. Like, what are things that you would realistically expect to see in your house, and how would that be there? So you'd have living quarters, so that's bunk areas, that's personal offices, that's going to be like the mess hall, cafeteria, that's going to be showers. Like, all of these things are at your disposal.
Whoa, what the hell happened there? Okay, so I'm just thinking about this, and I'm realizing that we are quickly moving towards the realm of more than one session, just because of how big you have to make the base. So I'm actually going to go back and maybe go about taking Vulnerable Moon off this table, only because I want this to be a fairly small facility. if that's okay.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
understandable.
Uh,
So sorry, something to take into account when base building. Your players will either breeze through it super quickly, or they will just get bogged down on things that they think are leading to something they're not. In which case, you kind of have to improv and either like let them know that like what you're doing has no actual consequences, and you're just kind of spurging out on a specific thing, which can happen, and you just want to make sure if your players get stuck on a part and it's starting to frustrate them, just to kind of prompt them in this setting, since it's kind of more high tech. You could have like, well, they're doing something that you know isn't going to actually lead to anything fruitful. The PA system could ping on. It could be one of the survivors trying to get help, and then
yeah.
it'll redirect them. So
Um,
being able to redirect on the fly.
yeah, my idea would probably, honestly, just be to use the Wanderer to do that. Push people around with the Wanderer.
Yep.
Because you can very aggressively push people where you want them to go with the Wanderer, in my opinion. Actually, now that I think about it, especially if the Wanderer is not, it does not follow reality. So, thing I just got. In other words, this is a boy who walks through walls. This is a boy who does not follow normal objectives to get to people.
So you can walk through walls, disappear, and fly.
Haha. Like I was thinking about that. So there's two sides to this. If he can walk through walls, then it's going to be absolutely impossible for players to have or for you to give your players a way to stop him normally without cold is weakness type thing, unless he specifically avoids things that are cold. But on the other hand, if he doesn't do that, then it's going to be a bit harder for him to come at things. Actually, I just thought of something that works as a perfect compromise between the two, which is what I'm going to call the Kool-Aid Man, which is that it's not that he can walk through walls, it's that he can walk through walls, if you know what I mean. In that he just will tear straight through them eventually. Really what this does is it makes it so that you ever play Metroid Fusion?
I have not.
It was a great Metroid title on the Game Boy Advance, I believe. One of the things was that there was like this evil copy of Samus who was going around called SAX. And one of the things is you would like see just destruction left behind by this thing, because it would be going through and just, it didn't care about doors. It just blew open doors and just walked straight through. It didn't care about, puzzles and stuff. It just tore through everything, So when I say Kool-Aid Man, I mean like you go to an area and then you come back later and that area is wrecked because he came through here.
Yeah, a sheer brute.
Exactly. Because that gives him a sort of logical way to stop, and it gives him an excuse for where he could be off doing other things. If
Yep.
you see like his destruction, the players usually, hopefully, like I'd say, to do this properly, you'd have to prime the players early on with his existence, because otherwise they'll be like, let's follow the path and find out where he is, and then you have to write wherever he's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Well, you can kind of start out by where he, like giving a hint as to why things are all destroyed when they first arrive, like those giant dents on like the blast doors into the docking bay, and you get on the other side and it's just completely devastated.
yeah. So the idea
Leaving those clues early on.
to go a bit more into detail with the idea of the Kool-Aid Man is the Kool-Aid Man, when you're writing with him, is the Kool-Aid Man is always 2 rooms away. Just at all times. If you need him, he is 2 rooms away from wherever you are. Doesn't matter where you are. He is relentless. He is following. It puts a constant pressure on the players, and and because of the nature of until the players observe him, he's 2 rooms away. So if the players need to go back a certain way, there'll always be the tension that maybe they're going to encounter him, and if you're feeling particularly nasty, you can have them, encounter him. But otherwise, he doesn't have to always be there. Just the damage that he leaves behind has to be there, which is going to go under our key scenes. So one of them was First Contact, and one of them is Kool-Aid Man. Kool-Aid Man I'm gonna call it evidence, which is when the players find, early on destroyed areas, and later on finds like stuff they've been through before is now destroyed. That was fine before, now ruined. Okay, so we're calling him Kool-Aid Man or Wanderer. So he's going to be, the idea that he's always 2 rooms away, this is something I've actually used quite often. It's basically a good writing tool. Instead of having to write like patrol patterns or something for your guy, just don't. It sounds cheap, especially if players know that you're doing this. Players might get pissed off with you, but they don't have to know. They don't have to know that you're not, every time they move around, constantly keeping up to date where he is, where is he going. Especially considering if he like follows dice patterns or something for where he goes, there's a very good chance the players will never find him because he'll be stuck running in circles in a corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So it also means that he can do things that the players might even think that is impossible. How on earth did he get there? It doesn't matter how he got there. He got there, and that's the thing is they will never get a chance to investigate because he is now coming after them, and they better run.
Yep.
Okay, so
and
yeah.
Just something to add for weaknesses. Besides the cryo room, being that we're in space, I feel like my first choice, if I was there, would definitely be airlock.
Yeah.
So using your environment to your advantage as a player, but also as a GM or a DM, I'd think is definitely something you should keep in mind. Because if you're able to, because some people struggle with this, but some people exceed at it greatly, is being able to put yourself in the player's shoes and what would you do given that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I was originally going with an underground one, so airlocks wouldn't be as relevant. But actually, you know what? Airlocks can totally still be a thing. And what I would use airlocks for in that case is I would use them as a temporary disable, so to speak. Yep. The players, there maybe be 1 or 2 airlocks that the players can use. And if the players use them, he's gone for a bit. But when you need to ratchet up tension again, he's going to come in through a wall and explosively decompress that room.
Yep.
Yeah, doesn't matter what room it is, he's coming. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why he's Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah. No. I picked up on that.
Yeah. So facilities, I just took a quick little thing and divided it into sort of like wings, because I'm already starting to draw out in my mind how this facility is going to be shaped out. I'm thinking either a triangular sort of 3 wings, maybe 4 wings, or 5 wings. What do you think?
It depends how many we can really... I'd say not to worry about how many wings there are exactly, but how many could we actually... how many different facilities, for example. You'd have the habitation be something separate than power generation.
Yeah.
Because of the size needed. So how many would we realistically need? So we have engineering. So that's 1. Habitation is 2nd. The science facilities could definitely be a 3rd. What would we be missing? Like general storage, and would that justify its own wing like hydroponics? Like, do they grow their own food there, or is it all shipped in?
Okay, so one thing is that I'm going to say no more than 5 wings, just because once again we're keeping this to 1 session.
Yeah, ideally.
So. You know what? Actually, 4 wings. 4 wings is nice. 1 wing is going to be the sort of end wing. It's going to be the wing where the boss is. Well, actually, 5 wings only because 1 wing is exit, so to speak.
Well, not necessarily, because the engineering includes the docking bay, so that's like the starting wing. So if they're docking with the moon, so that's going to be your first wing. Then they're going to have the habitation, so it's 2. There's science, which I imagine is where the portal's going to be, because that's where it would have been created, is in the science wing. So that would be your end wing. And then you have your habitation. So that's 4 wings.
Yeah, I just didn't want to start the Wanderer in the same wing as the final portal.
Well, he won't. Well, he'll start there, but that's going to be long before the players arrive. He'll have had time to wander around and destroy things long before then. Given how much time we're allocating before people get sent in to deal with it.
Yeah.
If the base is off for 24 hours or 12 hours or 6 hours, that gives lots of time for the Kool-Aid Man to go around.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm thinking here is because I'm also trying to write put a line out so that the players have to hit each segment.
Yeah.
So the players, I think, should early on have to hit. Okay. So we have 4 wings at the moment. We have 4 wings at the moment, and let's see, science, habitation, engineering. That's 3 wings actually. And a 4th wing will be security.
Yeah,
Going to be
I can
security.
see that.
Because that's going to be an optional wing that they go down for power up.
Like security and communication.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be comms, and so what I'm thinking is players first go there. I'm already sort of start trying to write out something in my head here, and to bring that bonus weapon in. So we got 4 wings, and they are science, they are security, they are habitat, and they are, what was the last one? Engineering.
Yeah.
Engineering. So players start here. I'm just like writing out events here. At the bottom we have what I'm going to call our event planner. So this can kind of be, we're gonna just think about this in an imaginary sort of space. We have our 4 wings, and the players start. We're gonna put our little imaginary player dot in engineering to start. So from here, their first mission, because of course they're gonna have a first mission that we add up here, which is going to be reestablish comms.
Yep, comms and probably life support would be one of the first things they'd want to start back up.
So what I was thinking is that they would have to turn off power. Like, I want them to get to power maybe a bit later, just because if they start with power off, then you have then it's always the cheap power goes on and everything goes to the shit in a handbasket type scenario. I was thinking of the more eerie version where everything starts really like low key and calm, and just like rolls and harder and harder and harder as you go, until you get to an ending with the giant monster. Which is, so to that end, I was thinking of a kind of situation where like they go in, the lights are on, just it's lights on, nobody's home. You know?
To that, I would probably go back to what I said before about putting yourself in the scenario. So if you're one of the scientists and shit's completely hitting the fan, you turn on a button, or you press a button and this portal turns on, and all kinds of waking nightmares come through. The first thing you'd probably do is, okay, well, I can't turn it off the way I turned it on, so let me try cutting the power, and see if that stops the portal from coming. So they just turn off all the station power, and by then it's too late.
I like it, but I have an alternate, and my alternate is this: that the portal is a long-term observation experiment.
Okay.
So, portal is long-term.
Okay, so it's kind of like Stranger Things almost.
Yeah, so basically the portal's been on for a while. And it's like things don't immediately go bad. It's like the slow thing, like the slow bad process, up to a point where it's just dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it gets worse and worse, and to the point. And I'm thinking for the portal shutdown, it's going to be like you have to go down to. Like here's what I'm thinking though for the power is to get the bonus from security / comms. Because that's going to be the first. Like the idea is this. This is my sort of plan. The first place they go to is security comms, right?
Yep.
They go here to reestablish communications. When they reestablish communications, perhaps comms was shut down for some important reason. That's going to be they turn on comms and the monsters start up. And I'm not 100% sure what I want to go with yet. Maybe it's release the lockdown. What do you think?
Okay. I feel like releasing the lockdown would help them, because especially if they're being introduced to blast doors every 10 feet, they're going to be like, okay, well, we need to turn off the lockdown so we can start moving around the facility more freely and find out what's going on. Because at this point, they shouldn't know that it's like an eldritch portal, more or less.
Yeah.
They won't know why the station went dark.
Yeah. Well, I was also I'm very tempted to go with the what was the station studying? I'm sorry, that's classified type scenario.
Literally the worst.
I'm tempted to do that, but I haven't decided yet. But here's the big thing about this security. Because it's security, I really want there to be an armory they can see.
Okay.
But they can't get into.
Because they need some kind of passcode that they don't have access to yet?
Either that, or that in order to get into it. So the way to disable the portal I'm feeling right now, like, where's our objectives? You know what, I'll just put it on monster, okay? With the portal guardian. So the fight's going to be like, he's basically just going to be a hazard around the portal. So the fight's going to be shut down power, like for the entire on the entire facility, and then there'll be like some sort of backup breaker or something like that in the room, and then you have to shut that down. So in other words, it will be go to portal room, like the sort of path I'm sort of tracing out is going to be either go to portal room or habitation first.
Yeah.
Either way, you have to. I want them to go to portal room first. Maybe not even see all of the monster stuff yet. I don't know what I really want for the monster stuff yet. For whether or not they just go in there and immediately ooga booga tentacles. Because, priming someone with a big monster is never, in my opinion, the best way to go about it. But either way, I want them to go there, learn how they stop it, then go elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either that, or they can go there and then learn that, like, the notes on how it operates or something are in habitation, and then that takes them to habitation.
Or the security chief's key for the armory could be found in habitation. So it gives them a reason to go back there and try to get a big gun.
Yeah, well, basically what I'm thinking is I want them to be getting the big gun at the very end, because I've already got an idea of what the big gun's going to be, and it's a freeze ray.
Okay.
Because if they're weak against freezing, and I was thinking, because the portal guardian, big problem, how do you deal with him, right? Because he's basically, you're not killing him with bullets. How do you deal with him? You have a freeze ray that slows him down, and that allows someone else to get over to the other side, deactivate the portal, right?
Yep.
Can't get into it. What do you think? Is it going to be a key card, or is it going to be you have to turn off power and then manually open it or something like that?
Ooh. It has to be hand and eyeballs. So they have to go retrieve the guy's body and bring it.
Biometrics, I like it.
Yeah, because this is a moon base. You're not going to have anyone can duplicate a key card. You're going to duplicate some guy's fucking body parts? Nah.
Yeah, biometric pass. So, gotta find... How are we going to tell that it's the security's hand and eye?
Well, it's going to be have like a terminal. Like, there's going to be an LCD terminal with like the outline of a hand, and then like or you could even prompt it's like, please present identification.
No, I know that, but
that kind of thing.
Sorry, if I can interrupt, but I mean is like in terms of, so these are key items, right? The security guy's hand and his eye or whatever.
Yeah.
How is it going to be? You find a random hand on the ground. How do you know this is his hand?
I don't think it's going to be random. I think it's going to be he's going to be, so his habitation block is going to be sealed, and he's going to have gone mad and hung himself in his room.
Or he's in his habitation room, and he was like up against the wall, with his gun ready, and Mr. Kool-Aid Man, I'm doing a Resident Evil 2 again.
Yeah.
And no, Mr. Kool-Aid Man grabs him from through the wall behind, and like drags him out.
So what's going to be left of his hand and head?
So his head's going to be gone. So remove the eye completely. You just need the hand.
The hand, okay.
So he's going to be like decapitated or something.
You still need to be able to identify the by uniform or something.
Oh yeah, it's going to be his room. It's going to be like his room, and he's going to have his gun and all of his stuff, and like he was hoarding all the ammo and stuff, and he's basically already spent like half of it.
Yep, fair enough.
Yeah. In habitation, he got Kool-Aid Man through.
He got Kool-Aid.
Okay, so in the security, though, in armory, bonus weapon is a freeze ray. I like to make my bonus experimental tech to be big, heavy things that people need 2 hands to, haul around.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Are we gonna have okay players this is meant for?
What?
Is just depending on how many players this is meant for? Is
Uh,
it going to be one weapon and then one person uses it and the other people escort? Or is it everyone's going to be able to pick up something so they can feel like they're contributing to the fight more than just being a fleshy distraction?
Ooh, true. Actually, I didn't. I wasn't
feel
thinking about that.
I wouldn't want to kind of alienate the players. Like, okay, well, fucking Chad Manley gets to carry the BFG of freeze rays, and everyone else is basically just being his sidekick while he saves the day.
That's true, but on the other hand, I don't want everybody to be running around with them because then it just turns into Ghostbusters and it just got a flat upgrade. Also because when one person dies, it's the situation where someone else picks it up. But most importantly, I want a situation where one person has to go disable something. Like during the final boss fight, one person has to disable and everyone else has to distract or something like that.
Yep. Or even just kind of meeting in the middle. There's the one big gun, but then there's like some small arms. You have like cryo grenades or something. Stuff that other people can use for the not necessarily big boss, but
flares.
For
it'll be a box of flares, and heat is attracting them.
Yeah.
Freeze ray. Box of flares. Flares distract enemy. Because that is as valuable, if not more so. Because other players can have the flares and be waving them around. And, So we now actually even have a detection system for the enemies. At the very least, Kool-Aid Man and Portal Guardian. We have to hint this early. They hunt on thermal.
They use thermal vision.
Do we want to put this on all of them?
We can customize more later. That's more of a fine-tuning thing, not really important to the overall.
Yeah. I'm putting it at the very least on a couple of them. At least on the Wanderer and on Polar Guardian. Whether or not we put it on the Mooks, that's whatever. So yeah, for our event planner, and of course, as a key scene, one of the key scenes is going to be players enter Chief's room. I'm going to call the security guy Chief. Find decapitated and gun shells everywhere and hole in wall behind where he got yanked through. So now I'm looking at this and looking at how long we've been running already. I'm not going to go through all of the key scene flavor writing stuff. Some of this is going to be stuff that you're going to have to go through yourself, but I am going to continue sort of writing out the steps as I would see them. Like, we have what security and comms is for, right?
Yeah.
Security and comms is for the first objective, which is releasing the lockdown, which is also going to trigger first contact. We also have the armory there. So science is going... We wanted Wanderer first encounter there. I would actually put science as maybe the second place that players go to, because it's going to be when the comms come back up, it's going to be danger, power overload in the portal room, or power spike detected or something like that.
Yeah.
So let's add that onto this. Let's add alert. Power spike in portal room detected.
Yep.
So on the way there, they'll deal with maybe 1 or 2 mooks, right? Because they're probably going to, if you've given them that information, their next place to go is science into the portal room. So I'm thinking the best way to do it is going to be the door into the portal room is sealed. Okay?
Yeah.
I just put it together how we're going to do this. Portal room access to room is sealed. need key. Okay, so it's going to be what the keys are going to be like. Need I guess biometrics.
Yeah.
Need biometric hand. So it's going to be 2 hands that they actually need. That's really grim.
2 different people,
Yeah,
or the same person?
Exactly 2 different people. One of them,
Okay.
security is the bonus. And
So you get the security officer, and then probably the
head scientist.
the head scientist. Yeah.
Yeah. So head scientist. And what I'm thinking is that in comms, in security/comms, there should be something that like has a personnel tracker.
Yep. Everybody's been implanted with some kind of tracking chip,
Yeah.
and you can
So
see their
that's
movements around.
how to find. I'm going to say it's going to only be able to find dead people, not mutated. Only because otherwise you'll be able to see every single mutant on the map.
Yep.
How to find dead, not mutants. So we'll have to put in this one like six dead dudes. And of those, 2 are important. Security and science. Okay, so those 2 are going to both be in habitation then?
Yeah.
Both.
That could be fun.
Actually, you know what? No, let's put one. I just realized. Put one of them. Ooh, okay, this is tough because what I'm thinking is that I was just thinking we could put the science guy in science as an excuse to bring the players into the cryo area for the whole Wanderer scene.
Yep.
But then there is only one reason to go to habitation, and that's for security boy. And I don't know if I want that. What
And
do you
there'll
think?
probably be a few people towards engineering because they were trying to escape,
Yeah,
but
no,
they couldn't.
definitely. But I mean, in terms of like actual objectives, I'm just trying to think of where do we want to put the key objectives so that they have to visit every area.
I mean, where have they not visited so far?
Habitation. They.
Isn't that where Security Boy was going to be? Because he's going to be locked. He's locked himself in his room basically because he cracked under pressure because he is weak.
Yeah. But the problem is that that's an optional objective, and because it's an optional objective, they may not the players may not go there.
I mean, they could straight up be told as soon as they reestablish communications to look for survivors.
But then they'll just use the tracker and realize everyone's dead. Unless the security guy isn't dead yet.
Yeah.
In that case, we're giving the players access to the weaponry if they are willing to desecrate a corpse.
I mean, most players will.
Considering that the final boss is pretty much impossible if you don't have it, if you don't have the freeze ray and flares, yeah, sure. So we'll have alert power spike detected, and we'll have secondary objective, find survivors, and we'll actually have the security guy alive until they get there, and then he gets decapitated.
Yeah, or he even starts mutating right in front of them. Both of which are very good.
Well, okay, I just realized how we do this. Okay, so what we do is we have them go to portal room early on. They need to find the biometrics. They need to find the head scientist, right? They go back there. They want to get the gun, and they find out, oh, look, security guy's on the list of personnel tracker people. So, because it's the same area, we put the security tracker one early. We put the security tracker one first.
Yeah.
So, like, the security guy's room first. Hold up. Closer to entrance than science. And the reason why we do this is because we have the scene of players finding him. He's the last survivor, right?
Yes.
They find him. He gets Kool-Aid Man through the wall. Then the thing comes through the wall after them. Maybe. Or maybe it just grabs, kills him, and then when they retrieve the hand, then it comes after them. Which means that they get to run around habitat being chased by this thing. You know what I mean? Because then it can chase them around habitat. Then later, they can go back to science to find the science guy, because... I just realized the easiest way to do it would just be... perhaps only security needs biometrics, whereas the other rooms need keycards. Whereas the portal room needs keycards, and you need 2 keycards from both the scientist guys. Because basically I want them to go to Cryo for their final encounter with Wanderer where they freeze him, and I want them to go to Habitat as well, right? I want them to wander around Habitat as well?
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's put this in. So portal room, access is sealed, need 2 key cards, chief scientists. And the whole biometrics thing, it works nicely for the armory because it sort of plays into the paranoia of the security guard.
Yeah.
And scientists.
I can see that.
Yeah. 1 in portal, 1 in cryo studies, 1 in habitation. Actually, this is perfect because in order to get into cryo, you need a science key. Meaning that the players have to go to habitation, get the first key, then go get the second one. Right?
Yes.
So you've actually lined it up so that basically the order is that players go to, security comms, go to portal room, find out things are sealed, go back to security comms. Where do they have to go now? Okay, personnel tracker. Boom. They've already seen the armory stuff, so they go there. They get Kool-Aid Man. Kool-Aid Man chases through habitat. Cena players finding alive security. Then he dies to... I'm just going to call him Water. It's easier to spell.
Yeah, and just kind of pepper around having encounters with enemies.
Of course, we're just going to sprinkle in enemies after all this. Sprinkle enemies. Some places. Majority in habitat, to be honest. Habitat should be biggest risk area, since they have to go in there for security boys stuff, and they have to go in. Need science key 1. So we're calling that one key 1, and we're talking about in cryo. In cryo is key 2, and final encounter with Wanderer. So after the lockdown's over, it's going to be like the portal's slowly, really getting bad again. Things are spooling back up. Monsters starting to come through. I can't decide where they need to go to figure out. You know what? Actually, we'll just have the shut off for the portal just be let's just simplify this a bit. I was going to do some stuff with engineering. They have to go down there for power and shit. We basically have lined out where they're going already. So why not just have the portal shut off just be in that room?
Yeah. That's being guarded by the
portal guardian.
The star vampire, yeah.
Yeah. So what we have here is we have a pretty extensive thing here. We have the sort of event list. There's a specific set of events that the players have to go through. Certain beats that the players will go through in the right paces.
Yep.
From here, it would be, adds particular flavor to things like when Kool-Aid Man is going to be wrecking. You go to an area early on, and then you come back and it's wrecked.
Yes.
I'll put that in. Go through area, come back later, and it's wrecked. Before first Wanderer encounter. I did say that just leaving behind evidence of his destruction might lead the players to track him, But maybe if it's not like just a giant hole in the wall that the players can climb through, rather if it's like a big battered up door or something, then they won't be trying to track him until he ambushes them. And I think I like that, actually. But not going through walls wrecked. Okay, so we'll put an airlock in habitation. Put an airlock in here, because that's going to be the first like way that they deal with him, right? They'll airlock shunt him in here. Gets owned maybe in here. And then afterwards he's going to come back after them when they're in cryo, and that's where they're going to deal with him for realsies. Freeze him in here. And that'll be to stop him for then. Then the players get the freeze ray and the other crap. Potentially this will mean that the players are already armed with the freeze ray when they encounter Wanderer. Honestly, I'm trying to think of how we deal with that. Best thing I can think of is that it just slows him down in the same way it probably slows down Portal Guardian. It doesn't completely stop him. Whereas they need like a big, some sort of super freezing facility in the cryo area. Where they were like
a stationary mounted weapon, or like a vehicle-based weapon. Like you can't just... It's not something small enough that you could handheld that would be able to permanently disable something.
Froze. Big.
Very similar to the old Godzilla versus Mega Godzilla 2, where they have the freeze ray strapped to his chest. It's just too big to transport by person.
I think I've got it, actually. Liquid nitrogen tank, or liquid nitrogen like pool.
Okay. And it's going to be present in the portal room?
It's in the cryo area.
Okay.
So because remember they're going into cryo for their like sort of final encounter with Wanderer.
Yeah.
So that's where they're going to like stop him. Do you think it should be a tank that they just kind of like break on him, or should it be like a big goofy pool that they literally?
It could be into? It could be like a giant pool that's being used to like pool the. This is where you can feel free to use techno jargon. Like it's there to it's there to cool the superconductors that are being used to maintain portal polarity shenanigans.
Or it's being used to freeze the specimens that they got through. Like there's giant, frozen goofy ice block specimens. Or whatever.
Like very caveman-esque.
Yeah, so they've been, putting them in ice blocks and shit like that. So you eventually knock him in there and you like hit a button and it just like shoots a bunch of liquid nitrogen into the pool, and then he comes out as an ice block. Him in, activate button, and turn him into a ice block. So yeah, that's a nice little way to finally finish him. And that puts us a lot of stuff. So habitat, like a lot of these sort of side areas from here, I would be just kind of putting together little like more flavor to it. Because the only reason why it sounds like I'm starting to close is because it's getting we're running a little on the long side here. So from here, really all that you need to do if you were to run this yourself would be to map out the specifics of each room. You need to draw out each room, or maybe just get a rough, or if you're particularly ballsy like I have been not to do, just like doodle out something on a piece of paper and have a general idea of what you want it to look like. And then when the players get there, just furiously doodle everything out, because you have your sort of scenes that you want to happen. You're gonna I have one of players see cafeteria room with like 3 mooks, gotta sneak past. Which is going to be a fun one because they have to deal with that, but there's also the pressure that Kool-Aid Man is like 2 rooms away, because he is always 2 rooms away. Like even when he's chasing them, I would not have him come in to like break into the room they're in until after they've done whatever they're doing. Kool-Aid Man's going to, or Wanderer or whatever, he's going to like sometimes really take his time before he comes in after them, because I think that honestly that's just as spooky unless the players decide that they want to try and lock down and hold at a certain place. Only thing about them holding down at a certain place is that I feel like they're going to just run out of bullets and get torn apart. I'd also just realized that I might be worried about the players trying to use the cryo beam to completely stop him. So there should probably be something at the cryo beam. Leave note that it's used to hinder movement, not disable. Like, the thing is, the freeze ray is not going to completely shut things down. It's going to slow things down. And that's just as useful, because slowing him down will allow them to deal with him and navigate around him, etc., etc.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, it puts someone always on slow this monster down so that you don't get beaten to Kingdom Comes duty. So from here, I would map out those rooms. There's not a whole lot that I want to do in engineering, to be honest. Can you think of anything that they're doing in engineering?
Well, besides starting there and then having to return there at the end to get out.
Yeah. Alternate ending where you blow up the station could be in power?
Yeah. Could be in engineering if you want to blow up the entire station.
If they do go for that, then I would have them have a final boss fight with Wanderer.
Well, Wanderer or the even the Guardian could come through.
Or Guardian,
because it depends on
through.
Yeah, because because if they decide on that, then that's going to kind of change where everyone's location is.
Yeah, I would definitely. You know what I think would be even better though? Like, because the thing is, I want the Guardian to just be like basically just a ton of tentacles and stuff coming through the portal, right? So they shut off the portal and he gets cut off, and he's like, hey, and he never actually was killed. He just was stopped from coming through. What I would like to do then is, if they decide to blow it up instead, it's because they could potentially want to blow up the station right after they look into the portal room and realize, oh dear, there's a giant tentacle monster. We don't really want to deal with that. Instead, we're just going to blow up the station.
Yeah.
In that case, when they go back there, have them deal with 2 Wanderers. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, perhaps there was just a second one.
He was 2 rooms on the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know what? Fight with 2. With 2.
Or the security chief is like partially mutilated in that circumstance when they decide to blow up the station. And he's one of the guys you have to fight.
Maybe at half.
It really just depends on your prerogative of how you want to run things as a GM.
Exactly.
Because none of these are hard set things you need to do. These are just kind of ideas.
Yeah, I want to quickly save this. What are we calling this? Typically, I like to give some sort of codename mission to my
Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid Man?
Kool-Aid Man. No, I mean, I like to give one that I actually read off. Like, I've had, what I have? Emergency Report. I had Marshland Mysteries. I had Operation Broken Spirit. Project Collared Eagle.
I guess this could be Dark Side of the Moon.
What about Dark Sector?
That too.
Dark Sector. It will be Operation Dark Sector. And it will be... What time period we're putting this in?
Oh, this could definitely be something that happens during the Cold War. So, like, in the 60s or 70s.
That is hilarious. I love it. 1974. Since you have to give it some arbitrary date.
Yeah, actually, a better question.
Yeah.
Let's try to tie some historical stuff. When did Sputnik get into space?
Ooh. Well, I mean, because we're going into the goofiest stuff, I feel like we obviously need this to be like the Nazis. This was like the built on of the old Nazi moon base from the like freaking some goofy time, like the
Well,
1920s. 1957. Sputnik was
yeah,
launched in
it,
1957.
yeah. So it could be like 1960, or even just a couple of years after that, or even the same year. As soon as they achieved that kind of flight, they immediately try to get to the moon next.
Yeah, I want it to be the kind of thing where it's like the GOPD, well, like where this whole facility is so future compared to the rest that it's just like, oh my god. With this stuff that we're doing, we could definitely go for what's it called, alien isolation vibes, where you have the
Yeah,
old, I don't even know what the name of those monitors is. The old monitors with the
like the tube
green, yeah,
monitors.
tube monitors. Yeah, so let's add that. I'm just putting this up here just because it'll help remind me. Vibes, old tube monitor,
Yeah, it's like retro
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 horror.
cyber.
Yeah, retro horror.
Yeah,
I almost want to make them cyber monsters, like robot, like part robot, but I can't do that. I don't also want to do that because with the whole weak fire and stuff.
save it for another one shot.
Yeah, I'll save it for another one. Attack of the killer robots or something. So that's a one shot. That is a full good. That is maybe even a two shot just from that like size we put together
Yeah,
there.
it depends how long the players take. They could finish that in one session, or they could finish it two. It really depends on pacing and how long players take to do things. But there's definitely enough content that you could probably get two sessions out of that. But you could definitely also get it done in probably 1 4 to 5 hour session if you have a rainy Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. That's like I'm just putting a note here. Put together some last touches, like get some writing, put together the map before running, do some description writing. Yeah, do the map. Set your scenarios and final encounter the right way, because that's going to definitely be something I would say is the final encounter. We didn't go a whole lot into that. As I said, we had it as just this thing where it's going to be shut down the power in that room. So power, actually let's just go through it right now. We're almost done. So power stuff is behind monster. Players need to both slow with ray and distract. Whoops. And distract with flares in order to keep it off of tech person, so that is going to be basically the gist of the fight. You'd have to definitely, I'd want to do a bit more workshopping on how exactly to make it, to properly convey what they're supposed to do. I
Yeah,
might set up a bit more about maybe when they enter the room, maybe when they enter, condition them that monster likes fire / thermals, no like cold. Just something that'll kind of teach them just instantly what they need to do, because let's just say they didn't deal with Wanderer with the freeze ray or anything like that. They just got the freeze ray and they just got it here. You need something that just tells them very quickly, this is how you deal with this boss. Because if it's just a bunch of tentacles coming out of a portal, they're not going to know what to do. Conveyance is going to be really important here. But that's the basics. That is the basics. People have been asking for a while. How do you put together a one-shot? That's what I do. From here, it's just sit down for a bit, think about it, put together some writing maybe. But you've got a full night's entertainment, maybe more. And that's it. That is a one-shot for GOPD. thanks again, everyone, for coming, because I think that's about all we got.
Yep. So until next time.
Yeah, so I have been your host, Hydra of Hydra's Den.
And I've been Owlbear.
Yep, so thanks everyone for coming. If you want to see more like this, I've got a whole channel here full of this type of stuff. Feel free to go check out anything else. If you want to ever maybe come on for the stream, just chat about things, we've got a Discord server. The Discord link should be in the comments for this video. Yeah, I do tend to put it down there, along with the Twitch channel where you can catch us live. And that has been our session. I'm your host again, and have a good night.